Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Josh, and as you've probably heard by now, Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, the trademarks have leaked, and that's probably what we're getting in tomorrow's Pokemon Direct. And I just want to take some time and talk to you about the stuff that I've already speculated might be happening in this game. Now, just disclaimer out there in front of it all this is speculation. I have no proof behind it. It's just what I think might happen or what I would love to see happen. So without any other further, explanations of how none of this is true, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And the very first obvious thing is, with the names being Sun and Moon, I think that there's probably going to be a huge focus on the day and night mechanic. It could be any number of things, like they're going to put more focus on the time-specific evolutions, kind of similar to the Umbreon, Espeon evolutions from Gold and Silver. You can only get Umbreon at nighttime, Espeon in the daytime. Or there could be like time-specific moves now. Like, if it's nighttime, you're not going to be able to use Solar Beam. Either way, if they included that in there, I think that would be an awesome mechanic and a very unique way to approach the game. Because, just like not being able to use Solar Beam at night, that completely changes how you gotta strategize and play the game. Like that, say, Solar Beam is your main attack. Once it's nighttime, now you gotta come up with a different strategy. It's just, I think that would just be an awesome way to change the game. Instead of just, okay, you're in a new world, here's a bunch of new Pokemon, go at it. Now you gotta add one more step to your strategy. The next thing that a lot of people are speculating, me as well, is where is it gonna take place? Because, X and Y took place in Europe, France area. Black and White was Unova, which was modeled after New York, which is America. And then there were several games that had Asian locations. So, my thoughts on it, just based on the names and kinda the logos, not like the main Pokemon Sun, Pokemon Moon logo, but the little emblems that show up kinda in the background, is it's either gonna be based in like a Greek or Roman location because of the Sun and Moon mythology, or like a Central America because the Mayans were real big on the Sun and Moon worshipping. But that's about as far as I've gotten with those reasonings. And I don't really have anything else to say about that. Either location would be good, I think. I've seen a bunch of people that have already started talking about how Solrock and Lunatone are gonna have a big part in this. I don't think so. I can definitely see where they're coming from with the emblem kind of looking like Solrock and the moon emblem looking kind of like Lunatone. And I can understand how they might think that that's probably going to mean that they're going to play a larger role in these games. But I find that it would probably be a little unusual to bring a previous generation Pokemon into the major role of the next generation. Could be wrong, but if Solrock and Lunatone have anything to do with this generation, I would have to say that they're probably going to get Mega Evolutions at the very least. Moving on from there, the big thing is going to be, what are the legendaries going to be? And I just jotted down the first couple of things that came to my mind, like the legendary that's going to be on the cover of Pokemon Sun will be like Fire Psychic, or maybe Fairy Psychic, or Fire Fairy. And then on the other end of the spectrum, on Pokemon Moon, be Ice Psychic, Dark Psychic, or Ice Fairy. And that's just based on, me trying to think of what combinations haven't been done and how could they play into the names of the games, which I know doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's got to be, but I think if they're going to be using Sun and Moon, which is a representation of light and dark, then that's probably going to have some idea with the story, and that would be where the legendaries would come in. So that's that. I haven't really seen anybody else talking about this, but are there going to be any new types that we're going to get in Pokemon Sun and Moon? If I had to guess, I would say yes, because with all the artificial or man-made, whichever you want to call it, the like Genesect and all that, those types of Pokemon, maybe they'll introduce a tech type, which would include like Porygon, Genesect, probably Magiana, and all the other ones that are man-made. I think I just mentioned this a second ago, but with the Sun and the Moon representing light and dark, we already have a dark type, so what if they introduce a light type? And, that would obviously be the opposite of dark and probably strong against dark and yada yada yada. But then if you look at it from the space perspective, they could introduce like a plasma or a gas type. And, that would tie into space because stars are a gas or plasma depending on how you want to look at it. And then, of course, if they did introduce these new types, they could be implemented into the legendaries. Maybe not the main set of legendaries, but, it could be like the 3 dog legendaries, or the Regigigas line, the Reggie line. And, there could be like a tech type, and a light type, and a plasma type, secondary legendaries. So, but, I mean, either way would be cool if they just stuck with the one set of legendaries, or if they did introduce a whole bunch of new types and made a second set of legendaries to show them off, kind of like Ho-Ho and Lugia were the main legendaries of Gold and Silver, but then there was also Entei, Raikou, and Suicune that seemed to be more popular in the long run. It just, that's just an extra route that they could take to introduce more types, and they always want to keep introducing more legendaries, or even still, we could have the 2 box art legendaries. And then, if they did introduce a new type, like this plasma type with the space theme, that could be the 3rd legendary. But we're just gonna have to wait and find out. I haven't really seen anybody mention any possible speculation on evolutions either. So, before anybody else gets out there, here are mine. If they introduce a light type, and it does take place in Greece or Rome, somewhere in that area, but specifically Greece, then the obvious route in the evolution line would make a light type one and call it Helion, because it falls in with all the other Vaporeon, Jolteon, having the Eon at the end of it. And it would also be a play on the Greek sun god Helios. So, there's your perfect tie-in there. And if that happens to be a thing, I want some credit. But no, really. And then my next one is something that I've been wanting for a long time. And that would be a ghost type evolution. And it would kind of fit in here, especially if they did a light type with Helion and put that, you know, like you could only get it in Pokemon Sun. And then in Pokemon Moon version, you get this ghost type, and you could call it something like Spectreon. Because, you know, Spectre, Ghost, and you got the Eon at the end of it for all the other evolutions. But I really want to see a ghost type. I know when X and Y was coming and Sylveon was announced, everybody was all hyped up for a dragon type evolution. That could still probably happen with this generation, but they also haven't done a bug type, or a ground type, or a rock type. Well, no, Leafeon was grass type. So they still haven't done any of those types, but I really want to see a ghost type, and I think this might be the time that it'll happen. As of right now, we're pretty much all considering this to be the announcement of Gen 7, because it's going to be 2 games, and more than likely it is going to be Gen 7. So, that got me thinking, you know, what about Pokemon Z? Are they really just going to let that go away? And then it occurred to me, what if tomorrow during the Pokemon Direct, what if they announce that Pokemon Z is going to happen, and it's going to be similar to the Delta episode in Oris, where it'll be just like an extra part of the game, and they announce that it'll be made available as DLC, and available right after the Nintendo Direct concludes. You know, Nintendo has done stuff like that in the past, where, surprise, here's this DLC that nobody saw coming, and it's available right now. So, kind of crossing my fingers on that one, that it'll happen, and if it does happen, it's going to be right after the Pokemon Direct. I keep wanting to say Nintendo Direct, because it's kind of weird when they call it Pokemon Direct. But anyway, moving on. The next question that everybody is asking is it going to be on a 3DS, or this, for lack of the official term, the NX handheld? And there are some rumors that have said that there is going to be an NX handheld version available at some point this year. So, it would kind of make sense to launch Sun and Moon on the NX handheld as a launch title, because that would massively boost sales. Because, I mean, it's a Pokemon game. Who isn't going to buy that? And if they have to go out and buy a whole nother system, they're going to do it. But if the NX handheld is this thing that's supposed to be launching around like June, July, and with the expectation that the new Pokemon game, regardless of the title, would have been launching in November, then that kind of kills the idea, if the NX that's launching in the summer would be the handheld, that Sun and Moon could be a launch title. But it was also right there by Christmas, so that might not be a bad plan. You know, you launch the system in June, and it kind of floats around, and then Pokemon Sun and Moon launches exclusively on the NX handheld right before Christmas, and everybody's going to be like, I gotta get an NX. It's going to be just like the Wii shortage when that came out, and I wouldn't put it past Nintendo to be planning it out like that. But, at the same time, since this is just rumors about an NX handheld, and you can still see it being done on the 3DS. I mean, if they wanted, they've got a whole bunch of assets from X and Y and Oris that they could easily change into another game without having to completely rebuild the engine from scratch, basically. But then, I could also see it being dual released. Like, there'll be Sun and Moon on the 3DS, and then maybe an enhanced version on the NX, to give people incentive to buy the NX. Maybe Pokemon Z could be that incentive, but probably not. That's a little far-fetched. So yeah, what other thoughts do I have on this? This is a long shot, but what if one of the versions, and let's say Sun, comes out on the Wii U, and then they drop Moon on the 3DS? Like I said, it's a long shot, but fans have been begging for a console release for pretty much forever. Like, ever since, I want to say, like, the Gold Silver time, where, like, Pokemon Stadium came out, and they were like, oh my god, we're getting console release. And then it just kind of fizzled out to be not an actual, like, full-fledged Pokemon game. Ever since then, I've been begging for a console release. So, what if it happens with this one? And, I say it's a long shot because there's never been a console release, but we are in a time where, theoretically, the Wii U and the 3DS could interact and communicate with each other. So, like, you could have an instance where, say, Sun's on the Wii U and your friend has Moon on the DS. You could battle together or trade, or what if they even implemented like a co-op thing? I literally that just crossed my mind, so I have no follow-up or explanation behind that, but it's not unthinkable that Pokemon could be a co-op game. I mean, there's double battles and you have multiple rivals now, and it could happen. Let's see, what else? The Ghost Girl from X and Y and Oris, and the ghost that's in Phoebe's gym room and all that. Are they going to be making appearances in Sun and Moon? And are they going to explain that? Because I know, like, Pokemon conspiracy theorists are, like, racking their brains. A couple of them have basically gone crazy. I mean, not, like, mental house crazy, but they have no explanation, and it drives them crazy. So, I wonder if that's going to have some tie into this, which, maybe that could bring it all back to there being a ghost-type evolution. Or introducing a light type and a dark type. And, they might bring the Dark World into it somehow. I don't know, but it'd be nice if they could explain that. Everybody is pretty much been speculating this. They speculated it for X and Y. I think it was speculated for Black 2 and White 2. Multiple regions in the game. Even I gotta jump on the bandwagon. At this point, you were able to do it in Gold and Silver, where we went back to Kanto. You've got Hoenn already built, saying that you're using the same engine. So, saying that we are introduced to a whole new region in this one, but using the same X and Y Oris engine, that's 3 worlds that you got, 3 regions that have already built. The assets are there. It shouldn't be that hard to implement. Or, do something else. Like, if it comes out on the 3DS and it detects that you have, like, the digital release of, like, red, blue, or yellow, then in Sun and Moon, if it detects that you have those files on your 3DS, then that will open up the ability to go to Kanto. Or if Gold and Silver get released here in the next couple of months, if it detects that, you can go to Johto, and so on and so on. That would be an awesome way to implement it. Not only would the fans be getting multiple regions like they want, but it would also boost selling those older games. And, you know, there are generations of Pokemon players now who have never seen Red or Blue, or Gold, Silver, or so on and so on. So, multiple regions need to be a thing, and if it's not available from the start, then implementing something like recognizing save data from Blue and Red would unlock Kanto. That would be how I would implement it if I wasn't going to make it available from the start. And then one of the more popular things from the Oris remake is, will it have a Delta episode like edition thrown in there? You know, if we're doing the space thing, it could be the Meteor episode or the Asteroid episode. I don't know. It was just kind of something that I threw in there in the last minute. But if they're not going to be doing third versions anymore, and they go the way of, like, instead of doing Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, but do it Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, and then throw the Delta episode in there as Emerald, then they need to stick with it, because, I mean, it is kind of pointless to buy an enhanced version, an enhanced third version of the game, because there are ways to trade, like the Wonder Trade thing and all that, so you don't have to have the third version to get all the Pokemon anymore. That's understandable, but you could do DLC with it being, you know, like I said, the Meteor episode or the Asteroid Saga, or, you know, bring that third version into the first two releases as, you know, an additional quest or something. But that's pretty much all the speculation that I have on Pokemon Sun and Moon right now. I believe that the Pokemon Direct is scheduled for tomorrow at 7 a.m. Pacific time, which translates to either 10 or 11 Eastern time for me. So I will definitely be watching that and probably posting reaction videos and analyzations and all that right after it's over. So be on the lookout for that. If you have any add-ons to what I've said, or if you agree with anything that I said, or disagree with anything that I said, make sure you put it in the comments below. You know, you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. And if you like what you heard, you know, make sure you hit that like button, share it with your friends, and as always, make sure that you keep coming back for more of this and other types of gaming news and Let's Plays and all that. I've been Josh, and hope you've enjoyed it.